So, welcome. I'm Linda Tellington-Jones, as you all know. And I've got Shannon Weil, who is helping me here, supporting me. Shannon wrote the book about my school and my life called Strike Along Trot, and she'll be talking about that a little. And I'm going to ask Pam Beats, of course, to jump in also from time to time. What we want to do is share with you this work for horses today, but I'm also going to include some of the basic TTouch for you because it's a gift from the horses. I started doing body work on horses in 1960 when my grandfather, who was then 80 years old, retired from the as a trainer at the racetrack and came to visit our thoroughbred farm in Hemet, California, and brought with him a form of massage for horses that he had learned from his Russian grooms, where he was actually working as an American in Moscow on the racetrack. And we began using that work for our horses. And my first husband, brilliant man, Wentworth Tellington, and I wrote the first book that we can see on equine body work that we know of in 1965. It was published first. It was called Physical Therapy for the Athletic Horse. The thing that was so interesting is we could help our horses recover after hard endurance and horse showing, because I did a lot of eventing and 100-mile endurance riding. And I set a record in 1961 that stood for 7 years for the time and won best condition in the Oklahoma 100-mile endurance race. But we never considered that you could change the personality of a horse, that you could affect the behavior of a horse by working on the body. And that didn't happen until I enrolled in 1975 in the first Feldenkrais training taught by Moshe Feldenkrais at the Humanistic Psychology Institute in San Francisco. And in the second day, of course, I enrolled in it thinking it was going to be support for my riding students because, as you know, people who ride have a tendency to get injured, and the Feldenkrais work is amazing for injuries, but also really wonderful for just helping athletic endeavor. I never thought it would make a difference in myself, right? But it changed my life. Now, in the second day of this training, Dr. Moshe Feldenkrais made a statement that brings us here today, really. And that is that it's possible for a human to learn in one experience using gentle, non-habitual movements that would activate new neural pathways to the brain, thereby giving humans more potential for learning. And when we were lying on the floor with 62 other people in San Francisco when he said that, made that statement. And I remember like my ears pricking up and thinking, holy mackerel, if that's true for a human, what could I do with a horse that would move that horse in a way that was not threatening, that would activate new neural pathways with the possibility of enhancing their ability to learn? And I went out that very afternoon and in the south of San Francisco and worked with a 16-year-old mare, Arabian brood mare, of a guy I had just sold some horses to the year before. And I said, do you have a horse that has some kind of habit that, might be worthwhile changing? And he said, well, I've got this 16-year-old mare. Every night I have to chase her to bring her in to feed. Not logical. So he chased her around, caught her up, brought her to me. And I just began exploring, moving her legs and her body with new intention, because we'd already been doing this for 15 years, but never with the intention of giving that horse an experience of themselves that would activate new neural pathways. So I was just exploring without intention. What can I do with this horse? And I worked for maybe 30 minutes. People watching me thought I'd hypnotized the horse. She was so quiet. And I didn't think anything of it, but I went away. And the next day, the owner named Ted called me and said, Listen, I turned the horse out after, and instead of having to chase her when I brought her in to feed, she came to the gate. When I put her in the stall, instead of diving for the hay, she like stood there like, like, do something. And in that moment, I thought, holy mackerel. Instead of, lunging a horse forever, like we did, like I used to do, in a couple of weeks in the process of training, doing everything slowly, step by step, I found that you could change a horse's willingness and potential for an interest in learning in a very short time. And that then, for many years, I actually followed this pattern. And in 1983, I was giving a workshop, a weekend workshop at the Delaware Equine Veterinary Clinic. Some of you remember Dr. Matthew McKay Smith, who was a veterinary editor for years for Equus magazine. He was a personal friend of mine. And Dr. Danny Marks, and who's still, by the way, my age and still riding at 84. Anyway, they had a horse that one of the other vets owned who they couldn't figure out what was wrong with her. She hated to be groomed. She'd pin her ears. She'd threaten to kick when you went to groom her or saddle her. And they remember, for those of you who are long enough in the tooth to remember this, in those days, in 83, the top veterinarians, and Dr. Danny Marks was the head vet for the American jumping team. And all I did was x-ray a horse from the knees and hocks down. Nothing about checking the body and all of the alternative possibilities we have in veterinary medicine today, which is phenomenal. Didn't have that. So I just put my hands on this mare very quietly, with the concept of just giving her a sense of herself. And she got really quiet. And the wife of the owner, the vet who owned her, was standing there and said, okay, Linda, why is this horse not threatening you? Why is she so quiet? Are you using, what's your secret? Are you using energy or what? And I said intuitively, without thinking at all, don't worry what I'm doing. Just walk up and put your hand on the shoulder and just, in those days we used the word push, not move, push the skin in a circle. It wasn't a circle in a quarter. It was just push the skin in a circle. And when I said that, I thought, okay, I don't know where that came from, because it definitely wasn't part of the Feldenkrais work. But I didn't tell her I didn't know what I was doing. She walked up and moved this shoulder, and the mare got really quiet and just started doing the circles. And I thought in that moment, it takes years to learn this brilliant, brilliant Feldenkrais method, but anybody can move the skin in a circle. And that was July 1983, when I left the brilliant Feldenkrais practice and began following the circles. And that's what we've been doing ever since. And in the meantime, last year, I was invited to rejoin as the Feldenkrais circle. And I'm so excited. I'm now an honorary member because I was in the first training with Moshe. So it's wonderful work. Now, what happened with the circles is that we began to realize that you could gain a new level of trust with horses just by moving the skin in this way. And what we have developed now is like a collection of, it's more than 20 parts of the hand that we apply to move in these circles. And it's a circle and a quarter. And what we've also discovered about maybe 16, 17 years ago now is that, wait a minute, that moving the tissue, and it's not sliding over, doesn't do it, moving the tissue in a circle and a quarter is that golden spiral, that golden ratio that's in all of nature. And I'm certain it's also that form, that spiral form of our DNA. And I'm convinced this is why we can activate the healing, that is, reduce fear and pain in horses or people or dogs or kitties so quickly. Because what I finally got after all these years is that 1.25 circle is like turning a key to connect into the genius, the brilliance, the incredible intelligence in every cell in our body. And that is the divine spark. It is the creative source of all that is. And that's what you're doing with these 1.25 circles. Shannon, I would love to have you pop up a mind map that we've made showing just only half of the ways that the parts of the hand that we use. And we've given them animal names, which I started many years ago. And I didn't realize when I started giving them the names that what was happening here is that when you use the TTouch, the part of the pads of the fingers that we have given the name the clouded leopard to, from a little leopard I worked on in the San Diego Zoo in the 80s, that we're bringing the spirit of the animals into our hands. Or when I use the elephant, the part of the hand, this heel of the hand, that when I do that, that I'm bringing the spirit of the elephant into our hands. Now, why is that interesting? Because in this day and age, what is said is that we are suffering from nature deficit syndrome. We don't have that connection to nature. And these are all the animal names, and it just means all different part of the hand that you choose to apply the 1.25 circles with in whichever direction feels right to you or the horse or animal seems to accept. Now, just to give you a quick overview, and then I'm going to show you some work on some horses. So if you could, Shannon, pop up the 9 elements to give you a sense of how you can learn this work. And Megan, hi, I didn't say hi to you. And lovely to see you. So, well, we're looking here. And if you've got questions, by the way, could you just write them in the chat? And then we'll be looking and answering those questions as they go along. Hi, Anna, I see you. Nice. Okay. So Shannon's just looking for this, and I'm just, hey, Sarah from Italy. Aloha. Hi, Sarah was just with me in Hawaii and's gone back to Italy. Now, this is a mind map, and it's thanks to Karen Freiling, who has been teaching TTouch for you with me in Europe for now almost 20 years. This mind map allows us, it activates both hemispheres of our brain when we look at a mind map. This is the Tony Buzan type, and it's missing the little pictures. But look, you start on the upper right, and this is the basic 1.25 circle, then the pressures that we use, the tempo, that is how long it takes to move the skin around the circle, 1, 2, or 3 second circle, a pause, the connections, how we connect between the circles. The posture that we think makes a big difference both for safety and effectiveness when we're working with our horses. And the breath, which I'll talk about as I lead you through the heart hug. The intention. And the intention is to give the message of perfection at the cellular level. It's different from all the wonderful therapies that are out there, where you as a therapist really learn to assess like what's going on here and how can I fix it? It's, of course, incredible information. The intention of TTouch is different. It's to see the beauty, hold that amazing possibility for ideal function in the body. And the last one is the feedback. How is the horse or the human, how is the horse responding to what you do? Should you use a different part of your hand? Should you use a different pressure, a different tempo? Should you be working off the body, perhaps, because it's too much? And in that case, which part of the head? All of these things are part of this work. And this is just a quick overview. Now, I'm going to take this down, Shannon, and I'm going to screen share just a little short session. This was the first session I did with this horse. And this is a 3-year-old, lovely warm blood in the dressage stable of the Meglas. Now let's see, I have to turn it on. And test my, you don't see it yet, right? Because I don't got it. I've got to find, down at the bottom, I've got to find the share.
We're seeing it.
Oh, you can see it. Huh, yeah. That's really weird. I didn't have to hit share. Okay, now I'm going to just start it, and I'm going to take the sound off. Now, I have him free in the stall here. And he can be eating lightly, and I just begin by running my hands over him, and he's really curious, but he has a tendency to lip at you because he's been fed treats by my friend. And I want him to think and to feel. And now, so I just talked to him when he's gentle. That's what I want, to turn around gently. And I'm just going over his body, and I'm really careful. That's a boy. And normally I would be using the back of my hand, but he's being really careful with his mouth. And I want him to think. Notice where my left hand was on the shoulder and my right hand, I'm just giving him a sense, and I'm talking to him. And that's why I don't have him cross ties. I have him in this stall where he feels comfortable. And I want him to be trusting that he can turn back and touch me when he's this gentle. And I have the groom is on the other side doing the same thing, just giving him a sense of himself. And allowing him to eat like this is totally okay. Oops. Now, this is the first time he's turned to the other person. Nice. And now notice I'm giving him the back of my hand. This is like a handshake. And notice he's really sniffing. I really want him to really sniff me. And what I did the next morning, it was so beautiful. I went to him early, and I just outside the stall allowed him to touch my face all over with his mouth. Now, please be really careful. And I'm really wouldn't have done this if we hadn't had this experience before, because you do not want to get, a horse suddenly to be bitten. So always, I'm extremely careful, but he could gently touch me, and I could touch him over the whole face without him moving. It was amazing. And just this one experience. Notice the back of my hand. Notice where my right hand is. And now he's reaching back, and he's going to start feeling, because I'm just doing these 1 1/4 circles, which I'm going to show you in a moment the details of. Notice where my hand is. He's like getting my scent. And at one point, I really exchange breath with a horse. It's something very different. And it's interesting because I've avoided that for years, but I watched Frederic Pignon do it. And to me, of all the wonderful horsemen or women I know in the world, and I know a lot of wonderful ones, there's nobody like Frederic Pignon. And if you've ever had a chance to be with him or see him, do it. Yes, it's amazing. Now, this is just a sense of, I just wanted him to be connected with me, be quiet. Now I'm going to show you, let's see, I'm going to give you a sense. Now I'm going to think how to, stop the share. Okay. Now, actually, I'm going to open this right now to see if you have any questions about what I did there. I would, or what I've said to this point. And if you do, please go to the reactions underneath and click on that and raise your hand, and Shannon will find you. And just any questions or any comments that you have. Lori Gaines, I see you. If you have anything you want to share with how you have made this change with your 21-year-old Mustang that's made such a difference in your life and her life. It's a great gift for those of you who have experienced the changes that your horses have had if you share it with others. Anybody want to just pop in here with a question? No? Well, we can save them. Then nothing. So and Jane Stewart, thank you. Jane Stewart, I'm going to bring on at some point. She's one of our most experienced horsewomen and practitioners of TTouch for many, many years. So I'm going to
Linda, we have a hand up.
Okay.
Stephanie Uhrig. Would you like to unmute yourself, please?
There yes, hello. Linda, that was really great what you did. But I just have trouble. I have a rescue horse and he doesn't even like me getting into his space, let alone touching him.
Really important question. So first of all, I put them in something we call Taming the Tiger, and I'm going to show you how that's done in a little video after.
Right.
And then you may have to first of all, start with a heart hug yourself, and I'll explain after why you do this, because it puts you in the parasympathetic, and it's been shown that when you are in that state of the parasympathetic state, that affects the horse itself through your breathing, but we'll bring this in a few minutes. I don't want to leave that too long. Plus, what you want to do is work, first of all, use your voice. And with a horse that doesn't want to be touched, I like to just do this little, in the Taming the Tiger, so that they can turn their head quietly, because if they're cross-tied, man, they just can't engage with you. But in what we call Taming the Tiger, it's like a half cross tie, so that horse can turn and look at you, but you still have full control. I first developed it for 2 very dangerous stallions I worked with, and found that I could bring them to the point that you could touch them without them wanting to attack you, because the aggression comes from basic fear. Now, so you start off the body, like in this form, the back of the fingers, and that particular, the back of the fingers like this, that's the part that we call the baby orangutan. It's from a little orang called Louis that I worked on in the San Diego Zoo. Inadequate sucking reflex. Now look, if I'm pointing my fingers at the horse, I could be off the body, and that's still like, threatening. When I turn the back of my fingers around like this, it's a very different feeling. Maybe you can feel it even, it's energy. Now, I want to define for you energy, because when I went through the Feldenkrais training with Dr. Moshe Feldenkrais, man, we were not allowed to use the word energy. Why? Because he was a scientist with a PhD from the Sorbonne. And at the time, in those days of his time, energy wasn't defined, couldn't be defined. But now we know that energy is everything, thanks to quantum science. And if you haven't looked in and don't know yet about quantum science, please treat yourself. And one of the books I think is the really simple introduction, and the wonderful introduction is by Lynn McTaggart, and it's the intention experiment. And if you just read the approximately 15 pages of her introduction, what is the difference between quantum science and what we all grew up with? And then you can open the book anywhere and just look at all of the studies and research that back it up. Now, the idea, what I love is the definition of energy. And it's in a book called Spontaneous Healing of Belief by Greg Braden. Incredible. Energy, you all, is every thought we have. Oh my gosh. Is it positive or negative? Makes a difference. Yeah. Every emotion we have, every feeling we have, and every belief. If it's our belief, oh, that horse is just a biter. I've heard this by one of our interesting, very high up people. That horse, he bites, he's always a biter. As long as we believe that, he will always be a biter. And the reason that I can say, wait a minute, we can change that is because we have the techniques without aggression, because it doesn't work to just whack them. We can actually change that possibility for behavior. And that I'm going to show you kind of an overview after to give you a better sense of this. Now, does that give you a sense of help? I'm going to have to, and by the way, this is my latest book. This is called Training and Retraining the Tellington Way. It was done with my brilliant niece, Mandy Pretty. And it has many photos of the work on the body, the work under saddle, and the work from the ground. And if you don't have this book, if you're serious about horses, this is such a brilliant book. This is The Ultimate Horse Behavior and Training. And the reason I say it's brilliant, think, oh my God, how can I read all that? Because there are 2 pages in here that lists 103 behaviors that your horse has. And you just look up the behavior, and then it sends you to a page and says, this is what causes the behavior. This is what you do on the ground. This is what you do on the body, and what you do under saddle. And you just turn to that page. And you can just go anywhere and say, I want to do this TTouch today. So don't freak out when you see this. If you just read the first about 25 pages, which is the overview of the philosophy, and then get the help. So does that help you? Does that give you a sense?
Yes, it has. Thank you very much.
And allow your horse to eat from a hay net as you're doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Because eating activates the parasympathetic. And when they're nervous and afraid, or in that fight, flight, freeze, faint, or fool around mode of the sympathetic nervous system, they can't learn. So the eating quietly with hay, like I wouldn't give them grain, but hay really makes a difference in their ability to listen to you when they're afraid. Okay, so I'm going to pull up just kind of to show you the changes that we can make. And I'm going to be then doing an overview, a PowerPoint of the overview of all the aspects of the work. But I just want you to see what's typical. Now, okay, Linda, can we do this? Oh, yes, we can. Okay, now, the pressure. You remember that in Pretty Woman? I love that. Okay, here we are. Now this is a horse, an Arabian stallion that was brought to one of my annual 3-day training for sport horses that we do in Italy. I've been doing it for 13 years. Of course, we've missed the last 2 years, but I'll be back next year. And this was a horse that, and in the 3 days, they get 1 hour with me and my assistant teachers, and then they go into the stable and they get 1 hour of learning the body work on the horses. So they get that practice in the stable. So this horse was on the, is that big enough, Shannon?
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, we can see it.
This horse was on the Italian endurance team, and this rider had only acquired him like maybe 6 months before because his rider had passed away, and he got this horse. Now, the reason he brought him is that he couldn't rate the horse. He had one gait, and that was the fastest trot imaginable, and he couldn't slow him down. And then the other thing is, he said, they had to take the bridle apart completely to bridle him. Now, can you see my cursor?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, yes.
Yes.
Okay. Look at the underside of his neck. This is really tight. And this bit that he had in his mouth was quite loose, and it was flapping. And this, I am sure, is what caused him to lift his head more. And when you get that tightness of the U neck, he tightens the back, and it affects his breathing, and he can't think as well when the breathing is influenced in a negative way. So what we did, now, how do I do this? Okay, this is, I'm just checking. This neck was hard as a rock. And you can see his ears are tight. He's like, ah. And I mean, you have to understand, like, this guy was really a nice guy. They did everything possible to be nice to this horse, but he was really afraid. And notice we have this is what we call a Zephyr lead. It's one of our pieces of equipment. We run it through the side ring and up to the top ring. Why? And first of all, we don't use rope halters because we don't have the same influence with them. And these little knots that they have in them are designed to put pressure on. So this is you'll see in a moment. Now let's do the next one. So that was just my first wait, come on. Oh, I have to get up here. Okay. Now, this is putting a heart rate monitor on him. So, and we had a lot of auditors there to see what we were doing. And we have a line on each side. We call this the homing pigeon, the journey of the homing pigeon, when you have a person on each side, because it gives the horse boundaries. And I am bringing his back up. And you notice that the head isn't quite as high now. So the first thing we're going to do is do the backup, and then this is putting one hand on the halter and one hand on the top of his neck, because when you even touched his face before, it was up, yeah? And you can see the look in his eyes a little different. And I'm just asking him to bring the head down. Now this is maybe I had my hands maybe 10 minutes on this horse at that point. Now, this was within 20 minutes. I could do this. And just putting the hand on the pole like this, and look at where my left hand is on the halter, asking him to come down. And in this case, you see we have a lead chain on through the ring and up to the top, snap up the top. I used to use it over the nose like 30 years ago. It's really rare that I do that now. And my sister, when you go to her classes or anyone she teaches, she will not use the chain. Now, the reason that I still use it in many cases is the weight of the chain gets the horse to be able to respond more easily. And this just the difference. And putting my hands there, look at the look on his face and look at the underside of the neck. It is loose. Now the next one is going to the tail. And you're going to see a little short video from We Horse videos of how to do the tail. The tail work is so important because it's one of the cheapest ways insurance you can get, because when you connect that horse through the body and you allow them to turn around and look at you, which is what we want, without moving their legs. It's very different from the concept of what used to be called whip training in the 1950s, where you want that horse to head up and turn looking at you because they respected you. It was a different way of looking at things, no? So this is, wait a minute, I want to connect to the tail. And also what we do with activating that tail is activate the cranial sacral fluid, the life force through the spine. Really basically effective and simple. Now, this is his owner learning to circle the hind legs. And notice, and this is really clearly written in my books, exactly how we do this. Now, we don't force it. We just, in this case, holy mackerel, you all, he couldn't do a circle bigger than maybe 6 inches. Why? Because he was so tight in his body. He was just like a brick when we started. And so we don't do deep body work. The reason is too, and just write this down so you might remember it. In a 2,000 person study done by the American Massage Association, they wanted to see what the activation was of the oxytocin that Dr. Bruce Lipton is calling the trust hormone. We really pay a lot of attention to that. And they were hoping that with deep work, like is typical of what many people love in massage, that you would get this release of the trust hormone. But what they discovered is that in the very light contact activated the most oxytocin, trust hormone, and the deep pressure activated the cortisol, the stress hormone. Interesting, because many people just love that deep work, and maybe it's, you know, like I wonder, they're so used to not feeling without that deep work. And so we come in and we say, wait a minute, we can show you how to connect at the cellular level in a way to activate the healing potential of the body. So he's just noticed where the right hand is and where the left hand is, and he's just doing the very small circle at this point, and only for like not even a minute. Okay, now this is the second day, and we're starting. We still have the heart rate monitor on him, and you can see his heart go down as we worked, by the way. And this is what I took the line on one side, and we use what with this long, what we call a wand, because if we use it call it a whip, you know, people are used to seeing it used in different ways. And we outline the body with it. And it's white because horses seem to respond to it differently. So we take this this rope rather, that's tied around the horse's neck, and we just stroke him on this side with it, first on one side, because we're going to ground drive him behind. And then I see, look at the look on his face. And we've got people, see this open hand, he can turn, we just want him to be still. And I'm taking that rope up and down the hind leg, because when you override the fear of things behind, wow, it just makes a huge difference. Look at the tight tail here. Look at the set of the ears, the eyes. He's not ready to turn around and look at us yet. And then, oops. And this is another phase of this. And this is really clearly shown in our latest book, the training and retraining, because this is for your retraining your horses and not just training. So I'm taking now the other side. We repeat it on the other side. And we brought him into the labyrinth now to give him boundaries. And this labyrinth is, man, you'll see it everywhere now. I developed it in 1975 in the summer, and it's in so many books now. It's really gives people, horses and people, boundaries. Okay, so then the next one here is actually moving. Now, why do we have a person on each side? And look at, I want the lines loose. I don't want to be pulling. And it's around the neck. We're not attached yet to the halter. And the reason it's around the neck, if I attach it to the halter, which is traditional, actually to the bit, as you see, is traditional in driving or double lunge riding, driving, we start like this because you bring the horse into the body and you don't need two people. You can have one person at the lead, but this is in a training. So we've got other people around and it's so helpful to have the boundaries. And this is only for minutes. Remember, the whole, total thing with this horse was 3 days. Now, this is on the third day, showing that I can put the bridle on him normally. Remember, they couldn't touch his ears before. They had to take everything totally apart, including the halter, to put it on him. This is just, oh, okay. And then what I'm doing here is riding him with our balance rein and with a Lindell. Instead of having the bit in his mouth, I've attached this to the side rings and I'm touching him behind. I'm picking I have the contact on his head and this balance rein that affects the muscles that come between the front legs and help to raise his back. And I'm giving him a sense of himself from behind. And we're just about to walk over poles here. And this is, look at the look on his face, on this horse's face. Just feel the difference. Look, you can see differentiation of the neck. No more U neck here. Remember that this is on the third day, 1 hour with me and my assistants, and 1 hour in the stable learning TTouch, the person learning TTouch. This is doing the heart hug and leading everybody in the group in the heart hug. And notice, this is our Lindell where we have rings attached to the side. It's very different from the type of side pulls. And if somebody's got their sound on so we can hear what's going on in the kitchen, if you could check, Shannon, can you mute them, please? And, this is his owner on the third day. And he's able to rate this horse now. Look at
Wait, Linda, I'm sorry, I accidentally unmuted you.
no worries.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Now look at the way this horse is moving. Look at the tail now, and he can go down the road and he can rate him just with the balance rein. That's the thing, it's so beautiful. Now, I would like to know if there are any questions about this. I'm going to stop the share here. Any comments or any questions?
I would just like to say that was magnificent. I love that series. I mean, oftentimes endurance horses just have one speed and that's go. So it was a beautiful transition.
Yeah, to be able, that balance rein, Jennifer, I see your hand. Go ahead.
I was wondering that balance rein, what it's made out of. I remember your old lasso one. It's been a very long time. And I wonder what your new balance rein looks. It looks much softer.
Well, yes, it's a round rope. And then we use biothane for the part that you hold in your hand.
Okay.
And the thing is, if you're like just trail riding, we have a string. My sister has these made in Canada, Robin Hood, and it has a string attached so you can tie this to your saddle. If you're not using it, you want to have it so if the horse puts the head down, it does not go over the head and get a foot in it, right? You can pick it up with one, like if you're riding with two reins, you pick both your reins up and then pick the balance rein up just with one hand. So in one hand, you'll have the rein, your Lindell rein or your bridle rein, and your balance rein in one hand, whichever one you prefer.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Other questions about this? And by the way, I love any skeptical questions. There's no such thing as what we consider a dumb question, or, you know, if you think, come on, is this really true? Yes, it is. So, and I would love it if one of our experienced people, or any of you who have used the balance rein, will just jump in at this point and give us one example of when it was useful for you. Who wants to give us a possibility?
Linda,
Yes.
this is Fernell. Hi.
Hi.
I currently work with some rescue horses, retraining them, getting them confident to find a new home. Are you still hearing me?
I am perfectly. Thank you.
Okay.
I'm trying to find you. And can you turn
I'm
your...
at the Galaxy A101.
Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So I was retraining a Rocky Mounted gaited horse using the balance rein and a snaffle bit.
Yeah.
He found a home, and I went over and worked with the owner at his new home. He was riding with just the snaffle bit, and I put him through some different paces. And then I said, now let's add the balance rein. And he said he could not believe the difference in how calm the horse became once he started using that balance rein that he was used to when riding with me. So he noticed a definite difference.
Yes. And the thing is, you don't put pressure on it. It's a signal that you give, and a signal and a release. And it's just brilliant. Yeah. Thank you so much. Jane, could you...
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Who's speaking?
It's Jane.
Oh, Jane. Okay, I can't tell because you're... Can you turn you on?
I'm actually in my car. I'm
Okay.
driving to Santa Fe. So I have so many good experiences with it, and you know, one of the biggest things is that using it to get a horse to rock back underneath itself, because a lot of these horses that are rushing and racing are out of balance, and they're literally running as fast as they can not to fall down.
Yep.
And I had an event horse that actually Jeffrey Riding sent me, and the rider was always arguing because anytime she took a hold of this horse's reins, it just went faster. And the horse had never learned to differentiate between a half halt that would rebalance it and somebody trying to slow it down. So it just bolted, and using the balance rein taught the horse the difference between the two.
Yeah, phenomenally. It is. And you start on the ground just asking him to stop and stand with it rather than just getting on, and then, you know, and it takes literally minutes with 90, what would you say, Jane, 98% of the horses that we work with.
They get it. They get it. Yes.
Right. They get it. Thank you. Okay. So any other questions before I go on? No. So
Linda?
Yes. Sarah? Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Sarah. Yes. Hi.
Hi.
Tell me if you hear me, please, because I have connection problems. Okay, good. So I like what I saw when you touch the horse in the back, when you are on the horse, and I consider to touch a little bit the horse to give the sense of himself and not just to ask to him to move, basically. So I like this new way back.
Sarah, you've got a really bad connection. Could you just write in the chat, please? And then Shannon, you can read it because
Yes, yes.
your connection isn't good enough. Great.
Thank you. I will write.
Okay, thanks.
So,
Okay.
Linda, Hannah Marie has a question.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead. Can you help her to unmute?
Oh, hi there. Sorry, my connection is a little choppy. I have purchased the balance rein, but I only have your the ultimate horse behavior book, and I've watched some videos, and I would really like to understand how to best introduce it to my horse friend and how to use it. The videos that I've seen you've been showing how to use it, but it's so fine, the little sort of movements and the little differences that you're looking for, that for an untrained eye it's practically impossible to discern.
Well, thank you for the feedback. Have you seen the short learning videos that we have on specifically on the use of the balance rein?
I think I saw one, but it was really just a 3 or 4 minute one. And
okay. So there's one on, if you go to TTouch.com and you look at what we have for sale, it's one of the learning videos. And
okay.
Yeah. And are you a member of the Tellington TTouch community? Because,
no, I'm not. No,
okay.
not yet.
Because it's part of that too, but you can just go there and get it. And
okay.
And, yeah, that would be. And the thing is, you start from the ground and just ask and release. And it's on the release that you want the horse to stop. It's not when you ask. I mean, this is true with the work on the whether it's on the reins or the balance rein. So
okay, yes.
Use your voice and halt, or what language are you speaking?
English.
Oh, okay. I couldn't tell from your name. Where do you live?
Canada, Vancouver.
Ah, okay. So it's en halt, well, it's en halt or ho, whichever, and you ask and release. And from the ground, and then from the back, you do the same thing.
Okay.
So, and play with it. Play with around.
All right.
With it.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Okay. So Shannon, I'm going to play a short overview, a PowerPoint showing you the basics, just the basics of this work. We're going to go through it fast, but there are a couple of little videos in there that I want you to see also. And by the way, while Shannon's getting that up, on September, what date is it, Shannon? The Wee Horse.
September 12th, there's a free seminar about Wee Horse that I have already signed up for. I can't wait to see it. And it's going to take us through several of the prominent trainers that Wee Horse features 35 professional trainers around the world, and they have over 150 videos online. And so this seminar on the 12th is just sort of an introduction to that. So I'm really looking forward to it.
And Wee Horse is, they have these streaming, you can, wait a minute. You can, for $14.95 a month, you have access to like all of these videos, and they have about 30 of my videos in there, training videos. And it's co-owned by my godson, Christian Krober, who is the son of Wolf Krober, who developed, he was the founder of Equitana, Equitana, Germany and USA. And so I really recommend this. It's the greatest, it's got the largest collection of trainers and all disciplines from around the world. And they're now in English just in the last 6 months. And it looks like Shannon and I are going to be at Equitana in Kentucky at the horse park. So if any of you are planning to go October 1, 2, and 3, we are probably going to be there if my niece can get across the border to help me from Canada. Press your thumbs, as they say in Germany. So are you ready, Shan? So this is about creating a magical, trusting relationship with your horse. And this is a horse that I had only worked with maybe 10 minutes. And this is what I love when they turn, like instead of being in a straight line, I was off to the side talking to people, and he turned and just wanted to let me know how much he appreciated. This was a horse who was brought to me because he was so difficult. He was extremely sensitive, like, yes. And one of the things that you can do to gain trust is bring your horse's head down, just do a slide on the forelock, and then take the ears and with it from the base of the ear out to the tips, do this ear TTouch. And you will find when the head is down to you, you will put them in the parasympathetic, that state that is the ideal state for learning, and you will develop a form of relationship that is amazing. So let's go on. So, oh, we don't need that. We can go on. So these are the elements of the method. Observation. First of all, stand back and look. How is your horse standing? What is the level of the head? Are the front legs under them or back behind the vertical? Where are the back legs? Are they stretched out? Are they under them, or are they tucked forward? So all those things make a difference. And the coolest thing is, you know, when I did my first series of videos, I think it was in 1993, I had a 30-minute infomercial, if you can believe it. Oh, it wouldn't be possible today. It would be so expensive, but it played all over the United States for dogs, horses, and kitties. And when my producer made the statement on the cover that with this work, you can change conformation, I said, oh my God, Denise, you can't say that. What do you can't possibly change conformation? She said, watch your videos. Of course you can. I mean, I hadn't really grokked that. And we really can change conformation. And hey, Shannon, I think I'm going to show you like a before and after picture of big surprise after, because like, oh my gosh, yes, 3 days. Okay, so we've got the TTouch, the work on the, wait, not finished. Sorry, go back. So we have observation, we have the body work that we call Tellington TTouch. Then we have what we call the dance steps. These are the various leading exercises. And Lori Gaines, I mean, the difference it made with your 21-year-old mare was like incredible. The fact that you can lead her in the elegant elephant and she listens to you. And it's really, you know, doesn't take long. It's not like we run around and tire them out and command or dominate the horse. Nah, we intrigue them with information that they can understand so we can dance together. And then we have what we call a playground for higher learning, the elements that we use, the labyrinth, the various things that we get horses to walk over, all the stuff that we do to gain a new level of trust and balance. And when we talk about balance, we're not just talking the standard physical balance. Everybody talks about that. We're talking about emotional and mental balance. And the equipment that we have, the special equipment we've developed, the riding, styles of riding that we do, and the philosophy. And I'll go into that in a few minutes. Basic philosophy. Thank you. Next. So, this method honors the body, mind, and spirit of horses and their people. It affects behavior, enhances performance, supports well-being, and deepens relationship. And I've been asked by Dr. Marlene Siegel in Florida to bring TTouch to a pet parents program online that she is a veterinarian is developing how to care for your animals, all animals, horses, dogs, in a, taking care as a veterinarian. But she's asked me to bring TTouch in to get the emotional aspect of being with your animals. Okay. It's a great honor for me. And these are labels that block trust, but we all know that. So we're going to jump over those right now. And this is a philosophy, y'all. These are keys to success. If you want to change your horse's behavior or your performance or your relationship or your well-being, you need to retrain yourself and learn to focus on what you want instead of what we constantly do. Humans, it's so human. Oh, look, that horse is doing that again. No, hold what you want. This is basic quantum science. And you, just by changing your belief and the reason that it's effective, we have all these techniques to add to the philosophy. Now, the other one, and this is what you think is what you get. There's so much great information out there showing that this is absolutely true. So go on. The second one is change the posture and you can change the behavior. I don't have that here. Oh my gosh. High-headed, strung out, all these things are going to make a difference in behavior as soon as you change them. And that's what this method does. So the basic TTouch, the basic 1 1/4 circle, which is starting towards 6 o'clock, imagining the face of the clock. And the reason you do this, you all, write this down because it can change your life. Because when we imagine a clock, and just imagine that old-fashioned kind that we had in our schools, most of you, you put it on your chest, for instance, in the heart hug, and you put imaginary numbers, the 6 toward the ground. This for the effectiveness makes a huge difference. The 9 toward your right shoulder, the 12 toward the chin, and the 3 toward the left shoulder. How does this make a difference? It activates both hemispheres of our brain. Why? Because when we imagine anything, that activates, and I want you to really think about this, feeling. Because what's also recognized, even before COVID, is that we humans are suffering from touch deficit syndrome, it's called. And this is a way you can learn the TTouches on yourself for your horses. And by just reaching out to your horse and getting that sense in your hand and feeling that and bringing it into your own body, you bring another whole activation of your being. The second thing is it activates, that is the right brain that we activate by imagining the clock. That right brain activates our creativity. And how many of you have become really creative thanks to COVID? And the other thing, it activates our compassion, caring about others. And boy, oh boy, I want you to think about this because I just had this invitation to write something to inspire veterinarians because we have a lot of veterinarians who are doing this work and doing it themselves and recommending it. And many veterinarians are committing suicide. And one of the things I'm told, and please think about this, is that people are so demanding and so impolite that they and their staff, there's a lot of trauma around it. So consider compassion for others, for your animals, for yourselves. And the last thing I want to do about the right brain, and this is the basis of this work, and that is it activates our intuition. What is intuition? It is the definition that I love. I mean, what I first got is unlearned knowledge. That means everything that's in the quantum field, just pull it out and we can intuitively connect to it. But the definition that I really love is in a little book called Intuition by Judy G. And Shannon will write that in the chat. Her last name is G-E-E. And it's intuition is a manifestation of the divine consciousness within you. receiving and understanding its messages will change your life and help you find your true path. So you see this whole thing about this work, you don't have to understand or be interested in the science and spirituality because it works even if you don't know that. But it can really be life-changing for you when you start to get this and be with your animals in this way. So what about the left brain? Why do we put those numbers on there? Without left brain, you cannot be here with me. And anything to do with numbers, like the 1 1/4 circle, the numbers we place on this imaginary clock, those activate the left brain, logic. We need logic. And the thing that we bring to you is this method that you can logically learn. That's why it's so effective and why so many people around the world, I mean, I have now 22 books in 16 languages, and we have this work taught in 39 countries that we know of. And you don't have to do it all. You can just do a little bit and start to be with your horses in new ways. So onward. And by the way, if anybody has a question as I'm saying this, I'd love to have you pop in and ask it as I go. Just interrupt me, because you may have something that's a hot question. And instead of just listening to me talk, it's really helpful.
Linda, somebody asked about the elegant elephant. Maybe you want to touch on that technique.
Okay, so the elegant elephant is one of the ways we have of leading a horse. And I don't often teach it in my 3-day courses anymore because everybody says, oh, well, I know how to lead my horse. Yeah, what interesting. So one of the biggest complaints that I get for people who bring their horses to me in weekend workshops or any workshops is my horse doesn't listen. And they've selected this method where you walk along and the horse is kind of supposed to figure out what you want behind you. And it is a way of, we call it the elegant elephant because you hold our magic white wand in a way so you turn the knob around and we have the lead in 2 hands, and the lead, instead of being under the chin, it's on the side, and you have one hand on the right hand closer up and the left hand on the lead with the wand. It sounds complicated? It is, and it activates both hemispheres. Sometimes I don't ask people to do it because it may be too much for them. So don't do it. Do whatever you do and do the other aspects of the work. But that's one of the bases for control and for getting your horse to listen. And that's one of the things that Lori Gaines, who's on here with us, found that changed her 21-year-old mare just by leading in a different way. Very interesting. Okay, so the 4 aspect of this trust, but I won't go into this right now. Well, I will. Just like number 4 is the tail touch, lick of the cow's tongue, the ear TTouch, and the basic body work. So go on. I'm afraid that I'm overwhelming you with this. Let's go on. We're not going to do this right now. I want you to see this. This is one of the 30 videos that you can get from eHorse. And it's just this is one of the short ones. And it's, I think I'm going to have you turn that on, start over and turn it on, because I want you to just hear my voice. Don't hear anything. No sound. Okay, never mind. I'll talk. Now, what I'm doing, my left hand is at the horse's head, and my right hand, I'm moving the skin. First of all, just with the flat hand, just stay with that. I'm just moving like this, catching the skin and moving it under my hand. This is not with that flat hand like that, I'll do it up on the neck because she was like a rock. And you can see how tight those muscles are. This horse was an extremely spooky horse. And I was just putting the warmth of my hand, what we call the abalone, the idea of melting it. It's not about doing deep work. It's about giving another sense of themselves. And see how I'm circling, asking her to bring her head down, just letting her feel it, watch her ears. And that, those muscles, man, when you get that tightness, no wonder she's spooky. And then she can't feel herself. It affects her health in her whole body. Now I turn my fingers over, and that I'm using the back of the fingers and what we call the orangutan touch from a little orang that I worked on in the San Diego Zoo. Now I'm asking you to bring the head down. Look where my left hand is, and look, I'm attached the lead to the left side of the halter. You don't always need our equipment. When I'm doing something like this for the video, I want you to just use what you normally have, but instead of being under the chin, you have it on the side. And I just gave her a moment to stop and think and going back. Look at her head goes up, and I ask her, please, I need your head down. That's it. And I'm using my breath. I'm breathing in through my nose, and look at the pause here. Circle. Breathing in through the nose and gently out through pursed lips. That's all part of that 9 elements that we showed you before. And what I'm looking for is just the trust, the softening, having her know I'm not going to hurt her. Now, whoever, I forget in the beginning, asked, what if my horse doesn't want to touch me? You put them in Taming the Tiger, which you're going to see in a moment. And you work off the body to start with. Look at the level of her neck now. It's a little down. Now I start using my pads of my fingers. That's what we call the clouded leopard. I have to bring her down because working on her with her head up doesn't work, doesn't get the response you want. And people say to me, how can you be so patient, Linda? Because when one thing doesn't work, we don't just do it harder, like whack them harder. Just figure out, wait a minute, what part of my hand, in this case, can I use that this horse can accept? And as I said before, it could be off the body to start with. And this is much easier for you to use in this way, the fingers. Okay, so notice her head is coming down, notice her ears, and I give her time to think. And doing this in the cross ties is not going to work. They can't be with you. Yes, you do have to work on both sides when you can. I mean, if you only have time to even work on one side, no, do 5 minutes. And then, of course, you go to the other side. Notice how she keeps bringing her head up, and I say, excuse me, I need your head down. You want that neck level. Now, I don't want the head way down, because if you take the nose below the knees, the horse goes away. Okay, Shannon, they've got this. Now let's go on to the next part.
Okay, excuse me, just a minute. I just have to stop for a second to allow someone in who is.
I can do that. I've been.
Could you do that? That would be great. Thank you so much. Okay.
You don't have to worry. So
okay.
I don't know.
We have a raised hand from Karen Sands as well.
Okay. Unmute yourself, Karen.
There we go. Hi. So the difference, the very first horse that you shared with us.
Want me to help you so we can put the UV light in here and empty it?
Can you mute everybody then, and please unmute her and unmute me if.
Okay, I'm asking to unmute you. Okay.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, great. So with the first horse that we saw in the very beginning, he was loose in his box and you were working on him there. With this last horse that you were working on, is there a difference between this horse not being loose in a box and being, you know, standing in an arena with the halter and the lead rope on, or was it just because you were in a different situation?
Because we were filming for Wheat Horse, and we had a really big camera there on a tripod.
Okay. Okay.
And the thing is, I really like them being out in the arena like that. And this horse is a calm horse. If this horse didn't want to be touched or wouldn't stand still, then I need to put her in a situation where they have something behind them and they're in Taming the Tiger.
Okay.
So this horse was well handled. I'm not taking challenging horses for this, except that one horse that you saw touching me. It's a very experienced rider who wanted to get rid of this horse, didn't like him because he was dangerous.
Okay.
And this is one horse, you know, I don't often get this feeling, I wanted to take this horse home with me so much. We could have changed him in one 6-day course, would have been a different horse. So that's a really good question, Karen.
Go on. With this horse, there was more focus on the neck, and then
because on this horse, that sorry, you saw how tight she was.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, and when there's focus is there, this is only 2 minutes, you understand?
Right, right.
Just part of a video, and you kept playing it over and over. Then I go on and just bring awareness there. And
okay.
So really good question.
Great, thank you so much.
And let me tell you one thing, if she didn't allow me to touch her there, because some don't, and in this book, for instance, oh my God, look, this is, any of you into dressage, this book is an amazing book. It's Dressage with Mind, Body, and Soul. And my publisher, Trafalgar, asked me to write this book on dressage, and I said, I'm sorry, there's no way I'm going to do that because I don't like what is happening with the huge majority of dressage horses. But they said, you have to, because Klaus Balkenhol talks about you in his book, because I've worked with Klaus for years and love the way he is with horses. So anyway, there's a picture in this of one of his top horses that when he would cut, and he's like 17.2, when he bring him into the arena, there's no way you could lead that horse into the arena because his head was up so high and so tight. And the pictures in here show me bringing him in, and we had 250 people in a demo. I was giving a demo. So they bring this horse in so high-headed, there's no way I'm going to bring that 17-hand horse. So I just use my brains. They have a beautiful mounting block, a big, like meter by meter mounting block. I just stood up on the mounting block, got higher, and I could reach the top of his neck. And within 3 minutes, you'll see in the pictures, his head was down and I could work him from the ground. So, and oh my gosh, you all, oh my God. Oh, I'm thinking of a huge horse in Vienna years ago, and it took me like 30 minutes. I'm wrestling with this horse to get the head down, because until you do, you don't have the horse. When the head is up and they're alert, they're in the sympathetic state of fight, flight, faint, freeze, or fool around. And they can't learn. So you've got to get that head down. And I was going for the ears instead of just moving the horse forward through the labyrinth or a few steps forward and bringing the head down first. Anyway, I got smarter over the years. That was in the 80s. So,
Linda, can I add a little bit to that too? From my 50 plus years of watching you, it's a matter of learning a few basics and then using your own imagination to figure out ways to suit the scenario that you're faced with. So, you know, I mean, if you go to Strike Along Trot, and you'll see a picture of me sitting on a corral fence, and Linda is holding a horse with a long rein in one hand, and she picked up a stick off the ground, just a stick, you know, a tree branch. And that's what she was using. And that was the basic origin of a wand. So even back then, she was being very, you know, it's like, let's try this, you know, let's try that. Just keep kind of moving the situation along inch by inch, and until you get the results that you want. And again, that goes back to your intention. Visualize what you want, and then noogie out a way to get there. So, you know, since that time that I was on the corral fence, I mean, she's developed this entire vast wealth of information and techniques that we can all enjoy now today. So have fun with it.
And show them your book, because it's an amazing read. That was 1967. She writes about her experience when she came to my school for 9 months, and we've been working together ever since. And it's an Amazon book, of course, and it's really fun. And for those of you who know my husband, Roland Klager, there are 2 pictures of Roland in there in the 60s. And we've only been married for 20 years now, 20 years. No. So it's fun.
Thanks.
Somebody else wants in. Okay, so will you go on to the next? And remember, you're welcome to jump in with any experience you have. And also, if it's an experience where you tried something and it didn't work, you know, and you want help with it, jump in. So what's next? This is don't I have the 6-minute video? Oh, darn, I should be bringing up that one because I want to stop it. And I don't know where I have it. Darn it, I'm going to have you stop it because I want to talk about it as we go along. I want to point things out to you. This is a 6-minute video of a horse in the stable of Klaus Balkenhol. I was asked 3 years ago to go and work with this horse. It was a horse in training with his daughter, and they were having a lot of trouble with this horse spooking in the outdoor arena at any shadow, like of rain, where it had been raining. It's not a puddle because the arena is totally flat, but just the darkness of the sand. So it's just, I worked with this horse just this one time, and I want to explain as we go along. So Klaus, that's Klaus Balkenhol, and he's making a wet spot. And you see the horse comes up to it and look at it. He lowers the head, steps sideways, and if she would get after him, which is of course what they tried, because that's what you normally do. Stop in a second, Shannon. What he would do is, you know, spin and get away. Just, he was really afraid. So forcing him to go through isn't logical, but it's all we know. And it hadn't worked. So I take him back into the stable, and I want to give him a sense of his body. Because when a horse is spooky like that, they're not in their body. So we bring them in the body. Now, you notice here, just go forward a little bit more. This is in Germany. For those of you, stop a second. Notice that I have the lines clipped up to the side here of the halter instead of where you normally would, because the ropes were too tight for him to lower his head, which is what I needed. And so let's go ahead, and you're going to be stopping and starting. And no way, he couldn't bring the head down at first. I just wanted to touch his neck. And I wanted, wait. We're just going to, and I just put my hand there quite, I just want him, at first he didn't know what I was going to do. Because one of the things I have to tell you, let's stop this a moment. I'm putting him and taming the tiger. There, notice, this is taming the tiger. The clip on the left side here in the picture, it's the right side of his halter. It's clipped, it's run through the bar in, because you want like a ring or something, but I had the bar, and then it's run under the ring on the chin. Now, This horse is very well trained, so I could dare to do this here. Normally, if you're working with say a young horse or a horse who pulls back, I would not, or even a young one, because we do this a lot with race horses. I wouldn't put it through the ring. It's too much. I just put it underneath, that part of the halter. And this does not work with the rope halter. Now, notice I have the weight of the chain in my left hand, and it goes through the side ring and up to the top, because just that weight is a difference. Also, please note how far my left hand is from the horse. Like you want about 4 feet, like 1.5 meters from the stall on the left side. You don't want them crowded up. And you want your hand to be that far. It's like 2.5 feet. If you're crowded up close, he can't drop his head like this. And look at his ears. He's saying, okay, I don't know what you're doing, but I'm listening. Look at the look in his eyes. Look at his ears are off to the side. He's not sure. Now, what I wanted to say is that in Germany, and I've worked many times at Barendorf at the training center, if you're a groom and you go to learn to be a groom, you learn to really groom hard and fast, because they've got a lot of horses to work in these sport barns. And if the groom works slowly, they'll be yelled at for that. And the point is, a horse is not a carpet. And grooming a horse in a way that they can accept and appreciate is part of your training session. And years ago, when I was really active in the US, because for the last 30 years, I've mostly been working in Europe. The thing is that I was working with the Groom Association from the East Coast, and with the idea, wait a minute, you as a groom in the sport barn are part of the training process. So if your horse is up and the head is high and the horse is moving around and you yell at it and it goes into freeze, because that's what they'll do with a well-disciplined horse, but that doesn't mean that they are in the parasympathetic of rest and recovery and learn. And that makes a huge difference. Okay, so let's move it forward. The reason I'm going slowly over this is basic stuff. If you all take this and go and look over this, you can learn so much. Good. Now he's not sure. Easy. See where that ring is. And when he moves, my hand stopped because he was nervous. Look where my thumb is. My hand is open and I'm moving the pads of my fingers, pushing the skin in a circle and a quarter. When he puts his head up, look, I stop and talk to him. Bring his head down. And now I'm going to do the ear TTouch. I circle once with my thumb at the base of the ear, because that activates the triple heater meridian that affects digestion and respiration. And the circling of the forelock like this activates the cranial sacral fluid. And the nostrils. This also affects the part of the brain that controls our emotions. When you get this, if you want to learn this stuff, look at this over and over. And what I'm doing, that's nice. I'm just moving. Jane, I wish you could see this driving in the car. Now, see, he wanted to turn and look at me. Just waiting. Now, I go out, and that's where this is in the beginning. This is when Klaus tried this. And you see, no, he does not want to go. Look at him step to the side. And that's where I say, hey, this horse is not going to go. Normally, I could lower his head and ask him forward, but no, he says, because in order to go over this, you have to give him his head when he's afraid. And they don't dare to, because the horse will spin and then charge off. So I put the 2 pieces of plastic off, and just stop a second, Shannon. Now, you will see many people in horse expos put 1 piece of plastic out there and force the horse over it. I'm sorry, but it's one of the saddest things that I've seen, because when the horse is afraid of that, you have to really get after them. And I've seen in an expo where a horse for 40 minutes, the trainer just kept whacking him and whacking him, trying to, and finally got him over. And I felt really sad for the trainer because he didn't know what else to do, and really sad for the horse. And this is where, you know, I don't point fingers at people because they only do what they know. But this idea of finding a way to make your horse successful. So I found out years ago, I remember the first horse in Axelschwung, where I had a lot of people there in southern Germany, and this Arab wouldn't go anywhere near that thing. So I had to quickly get smart, and I didn't have 2 pieces of plastic. So I just pulled the plastic away from the wall and then got her to trust closer and closer until on a loose line, she could go over. So this is your creativity that you get from, you know, doing these 1 1/4 circles. So look at my wand. I'm touching him on the chest. Look at my left hand. We're in the position called the dingo, where the line is in one hand. It's one of the few times we do this. It's folded up so there's no wrapping around your hand. So if that horse bolted, you're not going to lose a finger. And look at the wand. I touch the chest and I encourage the horse to feel their body. And now go ahead with it. And now I stroke the back, and I don't want him to move, and I stroke the back, and I take 1 step only. Another step. And he wants to get his head down, but I don't dare to let him at that point. Now he says, no. And then when I let his head down, look at where he's putting all his weight on the left foot, and he's ready to bolt when he's on that unbalanced position. And look at the loose line. And now he walked through on a loose line. This is our balance, our promise wrap. Now stop a second, Shannon. Now, what you just saw was what I did after this, because when I brought him out of the stable, I knew darn well he's not going to go through there. So I brought him into the stable yard where we could have him in step by step. So we've got him in what we call the homing pigeon. The reason we call it that is because it's like, it's when you bring the horse to this place of focus, it's like the end of the flight reflex. And that's Susanna Salzman, one of our top instructors in Germany. Has been with me for 30 years. She's got a wonderful center in Germany for training. So go ahead. And the line you see is through the ring and up the side. And they dump water there. Look at, he wants his head down. And I can let him in this case. Now we bring him forward. Let him stop and look. He's trying to see it. That's the thing with his nose up and down, trying to judge it. And then he goes to the side. He says, no, I'm not going near that. Now, when he does that, I get the other person off because it's not safe. And then I put my right hand up there in that dingo and just come step by step forward. Then back. Just give him time to think, and then forward. Notice I have a figure 8 wrap on that. And you'll see you can go to our site, and that is what we call a figure 8 body wrap. And my sister and Mandy have written a book called Wrap It Up for Horses. Now, see, I put a little grain on there, which I couldn't do in the arena, of course. And now I go back to the arena and see, can he walk through that on a loose rein? And that's what he was able to do. Now, this is a total of, maybe an hour of all of that. And it's in order to keep that, what they saw, they're going to have to, they use the balance rein because you don't dare to give that horse a free rein if you don't have that balance rein on. And that way you can do that. Now, I'd like to know if there are any questions, because this is one of the top trainers and training stables in Germany. And these were tips that, you know, I've been sharing with them over many, many years, but you don't stop to do it because everybody's in a bit of a rush, you know. And this really takes some learning to really step back and think, okay, what are the steps I need for this? Any thoughts, comments, questions? No questions about what I did there, why I did it? No, nothing? Okay. So I would, yeah, Robin, Shannon's writing, let's wrap it up for horses by Robin Hood. Now, you can also,
Linda,
yeah.
Maybe would you be interested in talking a little bit about what the power of the body wrap?
Yeah, it's a good idea. So I would like to hear from some of our people who use it. Don't always hear me talking. Who here has used it? Pam, come on. Want to jump in?
Okay, so, I'll jump in.
Yeah, Pam gets to work with one of the top dressage stables in the world on a regular basis, and has been doing this work not just with top dressage horses, but with many, many pleasure horses, all levels of horses. So I'm just interested, just think of one horse at one time that it was useful for.
Oh boy, it's kind of hard to take it down to one horse. You know, I think it was one of my own horses that I brought to a TTouch clinic because she was difficult. And we put the body wrap on her and it made such a change. You know, she really got connected. And I don't think we used it very much. And I think it was, you know, that was pretty early days. So we might have had some ace bandages and some, you know, rope, basically. But it still made such a difference to connect her body and her mind and her sense of where she saw things and how she felt she could move. You know, I think.
And it is, and the thing is, we sometimes use ropes, as you'll see in these books. Give them a different connection, but if they're really afraid, then you use, and we color ace wraps, the best kind of quality you can buy so they don't lose their elasticity. And you know, some people have been using, like some of the physios have gone to using this. We've been using this since the 80s. But the tight physios, that bands that they're using, it's totally different. This brings the horse into the body, grounding them, giving them a sense of themselves. The work that we do down the legs, the leg circles that we do, the tapping of the hooves that we do, give a horse a sense of themselves in space and make them feel safe. It's everything that we do has a reason behind it.
Linda?
Yes.
I might actually have a better example. So this was still a while ago. A woman called for me to help her with her foal. What ended up happening is she was having someone buck out her mare so she could ride her. And I just could not stand it. So the guy was coming the next day. I said, I can change this if you'll give me 15 minutes. And I did a little TTouch, stroked her with the wand. I think I found something to kind of make a figure-8 wrap, led her around, put her bridle on, showed her how to stop and start, you know, stop, walk, turn with a bridle, put the saddle on, rode her once or twice around the round pen, called it a day. And the guy came the next day and just said, wow, that bucking out really worked. Because she was absolutely perfect.
Yeah.
And I mean, you know.
And it is only minutes when you know what you're
Yeah.
doing. That, I mean, and it's phenomenal to see that.
Yeah.
And it's this idea of bucking out horses is something that people think they have to do, or sacking them out. And the fact is, it's dangerous in this day and world, because once a horse learns to buck, and they only buck because the back hasn't been prepared, the girth hasn't been prepared. And when you give this sense of belly lifts and all these stuff that you can see by going to We Horse and getting that training, and also we have now, my sister Robin Hood and my niece Mandy have developed a new online training. And it's made a difference, because now we can be around the world with people who otherwise never have a chance to learn this work. They can't get away from home. Sometimes they have too many horses, or they just can't afford it. And it's called, you can go to learn.TTouch.ca for Canada, and you can see all the stuff that we offer. Different introductory courses and longer, even practitioner courses now can be done primarily, like the majority of it, online. And every 6 weeks, approximately 6 to 8 weeks, I'm doing a weekend 18-hour TTouch for horses. And I'll do another one for dogs recently. And then we do a regular every Tuesday. I do this for humans, TTouch with Linda and friends. And you can learn to use this work and make a whole lot of difference in the terms of safety. First of all, makes a huge difference. You can't afford to buck a horse out anymore. And this idea of running them around on the lunge line until they get tired, folks, it doesn't work. And when a horse is in a state of fear, in the sympathetic nervous system of fight, flight, faint, fool around, or freeze, they can't learn. So in order to bring the head level, and I don't mean down, because this thing of teaching them to put their nose almost on the ground, this is putting them out of their body. They're not present, and they can still blow up. And, you know, if your horse has learned to run backwards when you stand in front of them and shake the line at them, you won't be able to bring the head down to do the ears. I had to learn that the hard way. You're going to have to learn to stand from the side and get the horse to trust into their body. And you can do it. It just takes, I've had to adjust my method, because that trust will not come as fast if they've learned not to trust. But you can do it. You can still do it. And all of these methods, they all work, and we've all done them to some degree. For me, it's a question of finding a way that I can be with the horse to keep them safe and have the horse enjoy the process as much as I do. And so this work is about, it's a connection with the heart to heart, cell to cell, because that's what we're doing. This intention, the science behind this work is connecting with this genius in every cell in the body. And soul to soul. It's a soul to soul connection that you get when you start working with the horse in this way. And if any of you are interested, I think I still have, I might have one spot left with my training. I think it's 27, 28, 29 for one horse. And we do have room for auditors, because you can learn so much in that 18 hours as an auditor. And we have quite a few who come in as auditors, and then they bring the horse the next time. I really encourage you to put this work in your repertoire.
Linda, Karen Sands also has another question.
Great. Where is the course? It's online for Noreen Sullivan. It's an online course, and you go to sign up for it at learn.TTouch.ca is the place. And if any of you are interested, by the way, to check out what we do for humans, Shannon, you have to write it's a kind of, I don't know why we did such a complex URL. Can you put the thing, it's ttouchforyouonline.com/ You have to put the rest. Anna, do you remember? Does any of our people in the class remember the rest? I thought it was inspired self care, but that didn't get me online this morning. Okay. Any other questions?
I have one.
Jennifer, hi.
Hi. When you just mentioned connection heart to heart and soul to soul, I had a really interesting experience when I started with Tina Hutton many, many, many years ago. And I was going through the motions and the circles, and I was, you know, everything was working. And then one day I was out there by myself, and I started each circle from my heart first. It made all the difference in the world. It took longer because I had to stop and think about it coming from there. And then it kind of went from there down into, I guess, the overused word core. And then the circle, it was huge, very huge. But so thank you. Thank you.
Please, all of you, send prayers to Tina, because she is in the state of Alzheimer's like her mother was. And
oh, I didn't know that.
Yes, it's been well, she still knows me when I call her, which I try to do on a regular basis, but yeah. And she brought so much to the world with her love and her heart and her techniques. It was just beautiful what she's done. So one of the things too, I would like to say to you is think about how you keep your horses. I have come to a place where I just can't do a workshop anymore where horses are kept in a state where they don't have lots of turnout time, when they're just kept in a beautiful looking stall that they get no companionship and no turnout. So it's the way the horses are kept, and I don't believe in blame because or polarity, because it doesn't help. People who do that don't think about it, and they don't realize what it is for the horse. But I just want you to think about that, what it is. Imagine you being a horse in a stall that's, you know, if you're lucky, 12 by 12, but many of them are 10 by 10. And in many cases, not being able to touch another horse to the bars or be with them, and certainly not be turned out. I just want you to think about this. And I do it not to put blame or not to make anybody feel bad who has that, but look for creative situations, because they do exist. And a friend of mine just started a stable like during COVID, where she is offering, first of all, they have anybody, and they have a lot of very expensive horses in Dallas that are now stabled with her, and they sign a contract that the horses go out 11 hours a day, rain or shine. And if they don't want that, they go somewhere else. And she offers these, she has 7 what she calls condos. They're 2-acre pastures with sheds, and 2 horses that get along together go in those. And then she has another pasture for the geldings and another for the mares. And they have these really wonderful hay choices. They're also pastures. And yeah, it just came to me. I called her to ask, you know, I knew she'd started the stable, and I was afraid to ask really, like, okay, how are the horses really kept? And that's how they're kept. And so I'm just putting out to the universe and to the horse angels that more and more people will find alternatives. And like, say you're in a situation where you can't get to your horse every day. That's true of a lot of people. Maybe find somebody you trust who wants to partner up with you. That's always the hard thing. Will they ride the horse the way you want? That's our responsibility, that's necessary. But we can put it out to the horse angels and ask for that. Co-create what you want. Now, I would like, Megan.
We have a couple of other people ahead of Megan. We have Gaho.
Hi, Gaho. Yes. And Shannon, I'll take them, and I just want you all to know, as soon as we answer these, I'm going to lead you through the heart hug, which will alone give you a very special connection with your horse. So who is Gaho? Are you from China or just teasing you? See if you can unmute it.
Unmute yourself.
She's trying. It's on the bottom left. There you are.
Bottom left.
She got
there
it.
You go.
You're good. You can speak.
Yes. What I wanted to share, because Linda invited me to share my email. Does this not relate to horses?
Can you come closer? Well, can you come closer? We can't hear you.
At the end, you can hear me?
Try it.
Yeah. It's related to my mom. Can I share it now, or you want to do it at the end, maybe?
No.
Yeah. What you said deeply touched me, and when you said about intuition, last week, day for day, last Saturday, I just connected to your training, to your conference, and I hadn't in many, many years. And I felt just I had to. And I think I wrote you a little note about my mom, who was at the end of her voyage and couldn't hear, couldn't feel, couldn't see anymore. And I was accompanying her, and I didn't know what to do. And when I connected to you, I knew you would give me something. And I was very attentive to the circle and a half and a quarter. And I asked you a question last week. And right after that, I went to see my mom because there was no other way of connecting with her anymore. And I did it, and I talked to her, and I also had some special scents, essential oil. And I did this for my heart, anything, and that was about midnight. And the next morning, her soul went away. And I am not too sure, because I cannot relate the connection to what I did, that what happened, but I know she was very serene and very, very quiet. And I want to thank you, and I really don't understand the connection between, or if it had to happen, I don't know, but I hope I accompanied her, and I knew something happened. I knew, like you said, deep into the cells, that something happened that she could let go. Thank you.
And the thing is, this work will lead you to learn in many directions. And one of the ways that you can understand, because you were actually with your mother, right? Which is a great gift, because not everybody can be, but even from a distance, you can do it. And the thing is, when you work like this with the TTouch, were you working on yourself or with her at that point? Oops, I can't hear you. We lost you.
I was with her. I did it on her, on the breast, on her hand, on her wrist, on every articulation.
Yes. And that, Ava, you're in Israel, right?
Yes, I'm in Natalia. Yeah.
And thank heaven I saw Ava's letter, and I wrote right back to her about her mom, and just being able, we have so many people, all of you, over the years who found that if they just quietly do this 1 1/4 very light circles on the hand, on the arm, on the upper back, on the feet, you can make a connection that brings them into their body. And it is this cell to cell, because every cell in our body knows its function in the body. This is what I learned from Sir Charles Sherrington, who won a Nobel Prize for the study of light in the cells. And I read his book during my Feldenkrais training. It was recommended by Dr. Moshe Feldenkrais that we read this book by Sir Charles Sherrington on Man on His Nature. And in the second chapter on body wisdom, he described with such passion the amazing intelligence of our body and the ability to, every cell in the body knows its function in the body. And so I took that and realized when I touch, when I just allow the cells in my hand or any part of me to connect with this cellular wisdom in the body of a horse, a human, whatever, that this special connection happens. Now, what I've realized in the meantime, and it took me many years to come to that, is what are we tapping into? When we say every cell in the body is a genius and knows its function, I mean, every cell has its own immune system there, and it's a reflection of everything in the universe. What is that we're looking at? It's the divine presence, the divine consciousness, the source consciousness that is that creativity in the entire universe. And so with this 1 1/4 circles, it's like turning a key to connect in to that amazing consciousness, divine source energy, God energy in every cell in the body. Can you come closer? We can't hear you again.
Relax her and release the tension so she can pass the other word and not be, because before she was breathing very hard and fear. Was it that it was soothing her fears? What was it? What was the message? I know it's not clear, my question.
So maybe what we can do, because people have to go, it's running late. So I will answer that question. I'll write to you. I'm sorry that I can't do that for everybody because some of you have to go. Maybe we'll do after I show the heart hug to give you, so those who have to go can, then I can answer it. And I'm really having a hard time hearing you. So if you could, Ava, write that in the chat right now. Now I'm going to guide you all through the heart hug. And there are basically where you don't have to do it on the heart chakra, which is right here. You can do this circle anywhere, but it's different when we actually connect with the heart. Because if you don't know the work of Heart Math Institute, they have been researching now for more than 20 years, showing that the heart has more intelligence than the mind, which is really interesting. And so when we imagine the face of a clock and we put that here on our center, on our heart chakra, and on this clock, the numbers, take the numbers off that wall. It really makes a difference when you bring the clock in, because it activates our logical part of the brain, not just the part I talked about before, not just the right brain. So we imagine gently moving from 6 o'clock up. I'm going to go clockwise, but if you want to go the other way, do what you like. I'm just going to do 6, a little curve up to 9, to 12, to 3, to 6, to 9. At 9, I smile and take a deep breath in through my nose and out gently through pursed lips. So we'll try this again and try the other direction. See what you prefer. So I'm going to go the other direction this time. I'm going to go from 6 to the left and go up to 3, 12, 9, 6, 3. And think of somebody or something or someplace in nature for which you're incredibly grateful. And smile. Now, when we bring in gratitude, that overrides fear. And we're all inundated with fear. Always, but particularly at this time on the planet. So just focus on something or somebody for whom or for which you're very grateful. And once again, in your preferred direction. And out the breath in through the nose to activate the nitric oxide. Deep and belly breathe. Breathe all over. You're like you're getting it in your whole body, the breath in. And out gently through pursed lips. And smile. Now, just so you know what that does, with a gentle movement of the skin, you activate the most oxytocin, the most trust hormone. If you press hard, you won't like it. Usually it's too much and you won't get the oxytocin. And the smile, again, that activates the feel-good hormone, the serotonin, just by stretching your lips a little. Gratitude overrides the fear. Now, it also takes us, how many of us are in this state where you have this looping thoughts? Oh, my horse does this or that, and I can't stop, or a music, a song keeps coming through. These looping thoughts and you can't stop them. That's the activity of the sympathetic nervous system, the part of the brain that is our primitive part, really necessary for us, but not when it's overused. And when we bring in the 1 1/4 circle and the gratitude and the smile, what we do is activate the forebrain and activate the parasympathetic, that state of rest and high state of learning. So before you work with your horse, even now from a distance from home, you can connect with them from here. You can imagine the horse is right with you. That's what we do on Tuesdays Live with Linda. We go into these imagined journeys and bring our animals with us. And it's life enhancing. So with that, for those of you who have to leave, I thank you for your time. Know that this will be sent to you. I really encourage you, if any of you are interested, to sign up as an auditor for our 3-day class, August 27, 28, 29, and go to WeHorse on the 12th of September for this free seminar. It's 4 hours. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to just stop this video, and then I'm going to start it again. I'm going to stop the recording.